In this video, I want to demonstrate my homemade sandblast cabinet, and I want to talk about two of the major problems that you have to deal with if you purchase a sandblast cabinet from Harbor Freight or Tractor Supply or one of those places. And the problem with the purchased ones that people run into is, number one, there's no ventilation, so when you try to sandblast, you get so much dust you can't see what you're doing. And number two, there's no light. So there are two of the issues, and on YouTube you look at, there are several videos where people purchase those cabinets and they demonstrate how they solve those problems. I elected to build my own cabinet, and I can talk about how I solved the problems. My cabinet started off as a wall oven. We were cleaning our wall oven and saw that we had a hole corroded through the bottom of the oven, so we had to replace it. A wall oven is composed of three boxes. There's the outside box that I made the cabinet with. There's a middle box, and then there's an inside box that you actually see. That's the part you see when you open the oven door. So I took the oven apart and reconfigured the box. If you look back here, this is actually the base of the oven. This was actually the bottom of the oven. These were the sides. Cut them down with a grinder to put an angle, and I reconfigured this panel and this panel, just moved them around because this was really the front of the oven where the door was. So I took these panels actually off the top and just was able to reconfigure them by re-drilling the holes. The top of the cabinet, made out of wood, the oven door really did not lend itself to making a door or a lid for the cabinet. I used just pine boards, and this is the glass from the oven. So I actually have 3 pieces of glass from the oven door, so I can always replace that if it gets cloudy. What I did to make the door, this size, the side pieces, the size is determined by the width of the cabinet and the width of the glass. And what I did was I used a table saw to put a groove in the wood. You can see the groove on the side here, so the glass would fit in that. And I used pocket holes to hold everything together, so I can actually take it apart to replace the glass if it ever gets cloudy. I purchased the gloves off eBay. They were like $31 for the glove and the ring. As far as width-wise, I went to Harbor Freight and measured center to center, so I knew how far apart to put them. One mistake I made was I probably should have put these up a little higher. When I stand with my gloves and my hands in the cabinet, my chin is like right against the glass. Would have been a little more comfortable if they were up closer to the top of the cabinet, but it works fine. I made a roll-around cabinet for it, and there again I designed it to be a height that was comfortable for me. I already had the sandblaster. That's a Northern tool, but you could purchase one of the handheld sandblasters that has a little hopper from Harbor Freight. I used conduit connectors, so the sandblaster goes in one and then the air hose goes in the other. I actually have a 5 horsepower air compressor that I use to run this sandblaster. You do need quite a bit of air. So this little compressor is just my portable one that I use, mostly to run my air tools if I'm doing any work somewhere. So let me plug it in. As far as the ventilation, the wall oven came with a fan, and that's mounted behind here. And here's the filter. And LED lights are here. So let me plug things in. The LED light strip was inexpensive. They're again bought off eBay. Used double stick tape to hold it to the bottom. And you can see it does a great job lighting everything up. And you can hear the fan blowing. Filters back here. Use a standard furnace filter. I actually cut it in half to fit in there, and made the cabinet. So if you're going to make your own cabinet, a couple suggestions I have. Number one, you don't have a wall oven, so you could certainly build it out of 3 or 1/2-inch plywood, and that would work fine. You could have a top door like I do, or a side door, whichever you prefer. I said you can purchase the gloves off eBay. They weren't very expensive. You can purchase the LED light strip, which works really well. As far as a fan, I would recommend just buying a bathroom fan and mount it in the back. It would certainly pull more than enough air out of the cabinet so you can see what you're doing. My cabinet is deep, and one of the advantages of a deep cabinet is that when you're sandblasting, you're working at the bottom, so the glass tends not to get scratched up too badly, so it'll last longer. I don't have a drain in the bottom of the cabinet. When it fills up, I just use a dustpan and brush and scrape the sand media out of there. I'm running the black slag right now. I also had back there a plastic container is baking soda, which I used to soda blast the carburetor when I was rebuilding that. The other issue that I would recommend when you decide on what size cabinet you need is keep in mind your furnace filter. My cabinet is 21 inches across. Furnace filters do not come in a 21-inch measurement. So the first attempt was to cut a filter and cut a filter down, a 24-inch filter down, and try to use duct tape and cardboard around the edges, and it didn't work very well at all. So what I ended up doing was put a piece of metal here, and some grooves, so that'll hold the filter in. And the filter is 7 inches deep, so it's 14 by 20, and I just cut them in half, so I have an extra filter. When I'm using the cabinet, if the filter gets clogged, I just take it out and bang it on a garbage can and get all the dust out of it, and then if it gets real bad, I just change it out. So there's my cabinet. Hope that gives you some ideas if you want to build your own. Like I said, I have about $30 into these and probably $10 into the lights and the adapter to run the lights. Rest of it was built with scrap lumber I had around the garage. If you were going to build one bathroom fan, you might be able to pick that up used at a Habitat resale store, or just a cheap one from Home Depot. You can buy a fan and a light. I guess that might work. I like the fact that the lights come down from the top. I think it works pretty well, what you're seeing. So the cabinet works real well. What I did, anywhere I had holes I wanted to cover, I just used metal tape to seal the holes. And the edges, this is the angle iron or angle pieces that you would use to hang a suspended ceiling. I had some scrap of that around, and I use that for the jagged edge here on the top. So anyway, hope this gives you some ideas if you're going to build your own cabinet.